Innocent men incarcerated 17 years, they get $140 a day for the incarceration. Massively undervaluing what the government did to them. Put up the picture full mask. This is a tragedy, but there may be hope. Juan Rayford Jr. and Dupree Glass have spent half of their entire lives in prison for a crime they never committed. Neither one of them committed this crime. Two California men who were convicted 19 years ago for a crime they did not commit have finally been declared innocent by the courts. A judge has noted that since another person confessed to the crime, their records should be wiped clean, and they should receive compensation for each day of incarceration. Dupree Glass, 36, and Juan Rayford, 37, who were locked up as teenagers, will now receive $140 for each day of the almost 17 years they served behind bars for a 2004 attempted murder case. A new law is the reason. So a new law sets each man up to receive from the state's Victim Compensation Board about $900,000 in restitution. $900,000, according to CBS News, now that their innocence has been officially declared. Let's put up the judge. This judge did the right thing. The case was brought before Los Angeles County Superior Court Judge H. Clay Jackie. This judge made the life-changing decision himself. He said, and I quote, "I find that Mr. Rayford and Mr. Glass were not the shooters, nor did they aid and abet the actual shooters." He said this from the bench, according to ABC7. Lawyers for the men say their client's case is the first one to benefit from the new law that guarantees compensation for defendants whose cases have been dismissed and are able to present evidence that proves innocence. Glass and Rayford both had their convictions vacated in 2020 after state appeals panel was disrupted by a dramatic confession from a man who declared himself to be the gunman in 2004, the shooting that took place then, which left two teenagers injured. Chad Brandon McZeal, a gang member already serving a life conviction for an unrelated murder, shattered the prosecution's case with his testimony. As a result, the men were allowed to walk free for the first time since Glass was 17 and Rayford was 18. A trial to determine their innocence started on October 2022 and culminated on April 20th, 2023. I thought about this day for so long. I thought about it when I was locked up for 17 years. I thought about it for my last 2 years being free. I wanted for this day because, I knew I was innocent of every crime they said I committed. Rayford, now a father, said after the ruling. What did Glass say? Glass also commented, saying the Thursday of the judge's ruling was wonderful and ended a 20-year nightmare. A 20-year nightmare. It was finally over. We can go on with our lives, Glass said. On the day of the incident, shots were fired into the victim's Lancaster home during an altercation with a group of kids. Glass admits he did go to the victim's house, but only to fight. The Los Angeles Times reports. While he was there, someone started shooting and the young man fled. 10 days later, after the shooting, Glass recalls his picture being on wanted posters for attempted murder. During the original trial, the prosecution successfully argued under the kill zone theory that Glass and Rayford planned on murdering 11 people around them. 11 people around them. The co-defendants were convicted of 11 counts of attempted murder and sentenced to 11 consecutive life sentences. 10 months after the incident, Glass had to reconcile the idea that he was going to spend the rest of his life in prison for the crime. Never wavering on their stories, Glass and Rayford had always maintained they were not the shooters. They were not behind two others sustaining non-life-threatening injuries. That trial never should have been brought in the first place. There was no evidence tying them to the shooting. Zero, according to defense attorney Annie Delladonna. Noting that neither of the men had criminal records at the time. Ms. Donna even stated The then young men never had a gun. In fact, for at least 5 years, the Los Angeles County District Attorney's Office had been aware of witness statements that suggested Glass and Rayford were wrongfully convicted. Still, nothing was done. And they remained in jail until the 2020 law was introduced, and they were allowed to present their case again before the court. Glass and Rayford owe a great deal of their freedom also to the hard work. I want to mention this, to the Innocence Rights Project at the University of California. They were deeply involved. The Irvin School of Law. Defense attorney Eric Dubin and Jackie was meticulous in detailing why he was declaring the men innocent, a necessary ruling for them to benefit from the law. This is not the end of the saga. The lawyers plan on filing lawsuits against the state, the county, the district attorney's office for wrongful prosecution. Okay? 2 men, 2 children, actually. They get a murder pinned on them, attempted murder pinned on them. They clearly didn't do it. No evidence connecting them to it, no forensics, and they both corroborate the same exact story. We didn't do it. All right? Doesn't matter. You're black, you're young, you have a prosecutor who's willing to ignore the evidence, you get a conviction. Their children, when they get this conviction, think about this. They didn't do it. And to get a mere $140 a day, let me tell you why. You don't simply calculate what a person may have made via income. This is punitive. You have to allocate some punitive remedy here. There has to be a punishment for the government, and the only way you can punish the government is through what's called punitive measure. That means money. All right, Sharon, thoughts on this?
I want to praise Innocence Project, these various organizations, this incredible judge, because they've done good work, Dr. Richey, but I just want to rail against these prosecutors and others who are part of the system that make it their business. They know when it's wrong, but they just keep going. And then they want laws passed to keep you from getting not even 50 cents on the dollar. I don't know how you can sleep. You must be so tired. How do you sleep knowing you've done this?
That's right. That's right. And to think this would not have even happened if it had not been for the law changing, which once again equates to policy. Good policy creates life. Bad policy creates death.